And so there's like this recalibrating in community, this pain of having to step away from community, this healing and affliction that, so many characters came through one person. And that one person created a completely different realm for us. And I can say that that one person who desired to cause harm, and there were many people, it wasn't like one person, it was one person and a team of their crazies. As it can happen, the crazy bandwagon, whoop, people love to like whoop up and get on it. And you're watching it now, you're watching it play out all over the world. And this that was meant to harm me fortified me to create pathways, pathways that many people walk on now, pathways that were alternative, pathways that sought peace, peace only, pathways that were laser towards rest and restoration, pathways that created a softening for the soul. And in those pathways, there's no handbook, right? There's no handbook of escaping the darkest darknesses. There is only like, cool, I've got to face these, I'm in these darkest darknesses, and I'm going to make a way for the light. And when you have children in that presence with you, as so many have walked this journey, and I pray that no one would ever, ever need to walk this journey of swimming to the surface from the darkest darknesses with the most laser focused speed, not stopping for distractions along the way, but simply the purity of alignment, getting to a place where there's oxygen again, where we can breathe. Because as the mama, you learn how to breathe without an oxygen mask. You figure out how to make breath and give it to your babies anyway. You figure it out. And then there comes oxygen masks again. And it had been so much time that had lapsed prior to meeting my now husband, but not enough time. There's not enough time ever to escape certain darknesses. As I said, they've just re-entered our life a year ago, and there's a new dynamic, and there's new foundation, and there's so much more fire. And my story's been told. What created a crack shift is someone was finally, after 10 years, a judge willing to hear the story, right? And when I was able to speak of what had just taken place in the life that we've lived as a result of this person's choices, finally the judge said, of course the children can choose. And why that was so hard, why it took, I know that it took the space and time to get them to a place where they felt safe and secure and healthy and happy and held and loved and seen. They felt that way so that they could make a healthy choice, and they could choose. And they could choose to see this person of utter darkness through a lens that wasn't about the darkness. Never in all of our time did I ever or speak ill of him. Only in recent times have I shared as a woman things I experienced as a woman in relationship that I now know are the option to experience in relationship, because when I was young, nobody told me that there was such darkness. I just knew, I just figured it out. I went into all the darkest corners with all the darkest bad boys and learned a lot. And it is important for me as a woman now to, in the kindest ways, say, this exists. This exists. I don't need to share necessarily I experienced this with this person, but this exists in relationship, and I know this because of experience. What's interesting with my children is that they were witness to, we had one major breakdown, abusive, broke the face, blood in the bathroom, kids screaming. I lived in a silently abusive relationship. It was breaking stuff. It was manipulation. It was a sexual assault. It was a lot of things that were a little more behind closed doors. And in our first and only I would say major physical eruption, although there was wrist grabbing and shoving, it had never gone into a place of such eruption as it did the day before my birthday, which was in 2012, 2013. From that day forward, everything crack shift in the universe, everything. We've come through these years, these many, many years, and we have had to unplug in ways that are so dynamic. We've had gotten to had to carve pathways that were so contrary to what the world is, so that we could make a way for peace. And I come to this point, there is sort of another side, like this birthday yesterday, where I'm weeping because of all the things that had to be reformed and all that is lost when you go through the reforming of life. And a lot of that is beautiful, candy, rich, delicious, amazing. So many joyful people, joyful experiences, opportunities that have to be let go of, that have to be sideswiped, that have to be inverted to go into this place of peace. And so yesterday I went through a lot of mourning, even today. For my precious son who will have this incredible, amazing, fruitful, beautiful life, this whole garage to work on his project, and he's got a daddy now, right? Like a caretaker, a father figure that has been in support and infusion of just love in his life. And it's interesting the dynamic of a boy who has a wound and how they take and receive that. And then, like, you have grown up boy that has a wound and younger boy that has a wound, and yet just wanting to be gushy, repaired, yummy family, but it's dynamic. And then other dad figure comes in and wants to be part of the mix. And it's a really interesting walk, mending these relationships, holding everyone, everyone in their highest, only ever desiring for the most beautiful and pure form to come into form. Yeah. That because these atrocities happen or there are these darknesses, we get to acknowledge. And yesterday during the birthday, we got to acknowledge that 17 is weird. You're not 16 and you're not 18. And it clicked for me. There was like oh, I mean, I was pregnant at that age. So much of the beginning was already established. So much of my breakdown breakthrough life started at that age. At that age, pregnant at 17. My son just turned 17. Mhm. That was the year in which I became with child. And chose to walk the path, continue on. I have a 23-year-old amazing girl who's been through her own. We have our own stories. Years and years and years and years and years of watching, observing, restoring, creating, years. And somehow it still doesn't even feel like this is my first time or my first time in this lifetime. And maybe this is the lifetime that turns it over. And I think for a lot of us, that's the feeling we have, is like, oh, this is the lifetime that changes shit. Shift. This is when the shift happens. There's been so much shift. Yeah, been knee deep in shift all my life. Yeah, and now it's time we're on display. This is the shift show. What have you created? What are you recreating from the pile of compost shift that has come through your life? And are you available to these emotions coming up and to you and through you, and willing to eke out? Not storm out and not, come through in a way that would create more rupture, but can you be a precious, patient whisper of restoration? Keep going. that as these times amplify and these emotions amplify and this excavation amplifies, and we're going through this changes and changes and changes because we're making changes and changes and changes. We can be available to those and willing to share them. To share them. There's so few who know the intimate details of my life, and that's okay because there's a lot of intimate details, and we don't all need to be sharing our intimate details about everything. I'm not here for the details. I'm here for the shift, for the shift. And in order to really understand the magnitude of the shift, you've got to look at the compost, the things that went into the compost bin. And when we get to share those things with clean language, we can connect together these pieces of our tapestry that are woven together that we thought were like so separated, that actually these ickies turn into pieces of gold where we mend, where we heal, and that we remember like we're whole. Yeah, somebody came and they tried to burn and like char all these pieces, and supernaturally we're made whole again. And I went to bed and rest in that. All of these beautiful things that I have needed to avert, and watching so much fruit, so much fruition come from areas I have laid prayers into, because through my desire to be a part of them and yet not getting to take place, did not get to take place in these areas. And yet I prayed for them. I've wept with them. I've encouraged them. And I watched them flourish. I watched them blossom as though it is I am a salve. And that through my own restoration of my own heart, through my pure intention, can create. That there is bodies to pull things into creation, and that there are those who pour forth a fortification for those creations. And some of us came to be fortifiers, to go through the fire, ports of fire, going through the ports of fire. Yeah, to fortify those who can step up and be in creation in those spaces. And so it's been quite a fortifying journey, in fact. And I'm so grateful to see the fruit blossoming. It's true, though, also that there is fruit to come from my life. Yeah, of course, there's already like tons of fruit and kids and stuff, but there is fruit. There is a fruit to come forth. My own fruit from my own compost. Yeah, particular to me, just like it's particular to you. And I'm here for that process. Yesterday became a day when I wanted to give up again. I was like, you've already poured out all of these amazing gifts through all these amazing humans and all these areas that I would love to be a part of, that my heart is there. Not my journey. If it was mine, oh, the thief comparison is. If that was mine, if those were my spaces, even though they were my thoughts, even though they were in the womb of my creation so early on, and I watched them coming through fruitfully for others, if it was mine, it would be mine. That there's another journey for me. I want you to remember that when you see fruit popping up everywhere and you still feel like you're kind of composty. Oh, I'm just making really rich soil over here. Okay. And trusting that process. And so here I am, trusting that process to speak forth, and to be with you, and to watch us all come into a blooming, right? A place where only she can come forth. Yeah, that's the ultimate. That's what I'm here for. I love you. Blessed ramblings. See you next time.